Hi there, guys. Good evening. Welcome to this webinar with Pitchero and the guys from Pixellot. It's great to have them here. We're talking about everything on video cameras. I shall start by introducing a few people then. I'll introduce Neil and Ross. Guys, do you want to just have a couple of minutes each and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So my name's Ross Tanner. I'm the new business and sales director here at Pixellot. Neil, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yep. Hi, guys. I'm Neil Fairbairn, just looking after the partnerships in the UK. And for those of you that have been following us, we're just about to launch our Air camera. So specifically looking after that product. Welcome. Look forward to the next hour or so.
Great. Thanks for that. Now, this is a part of Pitchero's history that's probably been with us from day one. Since we started Pitchero over 10 years ago, we've known video was a major part of grassroots sports. And out there, teams and clubs were trying to capture video, and it was really painful. One of the first items Pitchero ever bought before we bought an Apple Mac was a huge camera that had a video player in the side, and you record the entire 90-minute game onto a video player. Then you'd have to come home, the file would be gigs, 4 or 5 gig, and then you have to play it back onto your computer. Then you have to edit it. It was a 4 or 5 hour post-match job. It was an incredible burden for a player, for a volunteer. And then as the years progressed, as we started building websites and more websites, clubs would ask us how we can help them with videos. We started hosting videos, and that's quite hard work because it takes a lot of hosting, a lot of server. Uploading a video is hard work. Moving a video file is hard work. Out of all the things that Pitchero has achieved, we haven't come close to really creating a viable solution for the 5,000 clubs, 70,000 teams on Pitchero who want to use video. And we've tried, we've invested lots of money. I've got surrounded here by some of the devices that we've tried to work with. So you may remember we had an app called Pitchero Play for many years, or for 2 seasons, which worked on these Samsung phones. And it was an Android app. So this is an Android phone. And this particular phone that Samsung made had a zoom on the front of it. If I can switch it on, it pops out. And that meant that it could zoom across the entire field. So it could get across the field to do a half-decent recording. And we created an app that you videoed the game. And as you were videoing it, you'd click the screen. And if someone scored a goal, you hit score goal, you hit the player's name. And it would create that clip and it would send it to our server. And we were pulling clips. And it worked really hard. And we thought we were onto a winner. And then Samsung stopped producing these cameras because nobody wanted a huge optical lens in their camera anymore. And we had about 40 of them. And I was emailing every warehouse in Asia and Thailand and China, everywhere, trying to find these, and there were none. And so then we had to get inventive and we had to try and find other devices. And so we looked at things like these sort of cameras that you get on your front of your bike. We even looked at using tablets because the cameras in iPads were getting better and better. And we had some of these made. So there's still a tripod and you'd have your iPad on the back and you'd watch it that way. But actually, outdoor camera videoing is really hard because you have different lights, and in winter you have the nightmare of it getting dark quickly. That you then have floodlights, and they can be yellow and they can flash sometimes, or they can be white. So getting a really good bit of video captured is really hard work. None of the hardware available to us could do it. And then you've also got the post-match editing, you've got the post-match uploading, and you've still got the problem of a volunteer. We still need somebody to sit on a chair and move a camera around. So when I look back now, we were nowhere near the solution. We had all the right ideas, but none of the right parts. We didn't have the hardware, we didn't have the software, and also we didn't have the kind of funding you needed. We actually went down to a company in Bristol to see if we could develop a camera. And I was pretty much going in there saying, can you just build me one of these with a bigger screen, latest Android on? And they were like, yeah, we'd love to do that. And I remember he was really polite, was a chap, and we high-fiving and getting on really well. And then about 5 days later, he sent me the bill, and he said it cost about £2 million. And, you just fall off your chair. So we were never close to doing it. And from there, we backed away from video. We host a lot of video, and we publish a lot of videos that people upload, and they tend to get that off cameras still. We do a lot of National League level football, do a lot of highlights there. But in the last 2-3 years, we've seen various players come onto the market who have combined hardware with software. They've developed their own hardware system, that's very clever. Two cameras blending together to create one image, and then mixing that with a bit of AI so they can tell what's going on, which means you don't need a cameraman, which means you have a happy volunteer who just can set it up. And rather than fiddling with a camera, he can watch the game, he can watch his son and daughter play or his mates play, and he's not worried about his camera. And that same camera can then do lots of cool things post-match. The software, the editing, the cropping, the clipping, the stats, it has that as part of it. And that same camera can be shared amongst its club. So rather than one team using it, because often what you happen with a volunteer, it's their camera. And so if you have a guy, it's his camera, he's not going to lend it to the second team. He's not going to lend it to the under 14s. He's going to take it home with him. But with this is a piece of kit that the club can own and the club can share. And the club can even keep it in one position. You know, if they know where it works best on one pitch, it can stay there. Volunteers can be trained how to use it very easily, and it can scale. So we've seen these new solutions coming along. There's 2 or 3, maybe 4 out there, particularly in America. We've seen an explosion, but they're mostly indoor. The basketball scene in America has done very well with indoor cameras. But those cameras aren't sort of developed for that beautiful winter weather that we have here in the UK, where it's, you know, it can be dark by 3 p.m. and then you've got yellow flashing lights. But after speaking to Neil and Ross at length and the team back in Israel, Pitchero is excited, really excited to bring Pixellot and its technology to Pitchero clubs. We see this very much as a long-term partnership, introducing club officials and volunteers to this new type of video camera, how it works, how it can improve your club, and how it can be a club asset, just like a changing room, a set of nets, the flags, the pads, the scrummaging machine. This is a piece of equipment for the whole club can use. One of the reasons we were excited about cameras and video technology is because we saw it as a really important participation tool, because every player loves seeing themselves on camera. And if they could see clips after games, if they could watch clips all week, they're more likely to turn up to training. They're more likely to come back to try and be on video camera again. So we saw this as a great motivational driving tool. So right now, we think over the coming months, we're partnering with not just an exceptional company, but the leader in its field, the best company in the world, who have built a piece of hardware specifically for sport and capturing content on a pitch. This isn't your camera from Carphone Warehouse or Dixon's or PC World that you record Christmas with and, you know, christenings and weddings. Forget all that. This is a camera that's been designed, developed with Barcelona Football Club to get across a football pitch, a rugby pitch, a hockey pitch, in all kinds of different light, to zoom across, to follow that match, to follow that players. It's designed purely for that, and we believe it is best in class. So I'm excited for the rest of this evening. I'm excited to see an overview of the technology and talk about not only the benefits to your club, but how your club can earn revenue from it. And this is the start of a journey. This is the first webinar. There's going to be similar webinars like this every month, and lots of content being shared with the Pitchero community. And our account managers are going to be trained on this. So what you hear tonight is just a start. So that's the Pitchero. We've finally found the solution to video, and we're looking forward to hearing more about it from Neil and Ross this evening. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the introduction there. Look, there's a lot to go through in the next sort of 30 to 45 minutes. So we'll try and get through as much as we can. As Mark's alluded to at the beginning, Pixellot are very much entered the market space in the last sort of 7-8 years, and they really capitalized on a smart piece of technology that we want to showcase with you today. The one big sort of tagline that we always come back to, and this may be relevant to some of your clubs, it may be less so to others, but the one headline we want to share with you to start with, that we produce more live hours than anyone else. So if you think about traditional broadcast TV, you probably think that people like the Skies, the BTs, the ESPNs produce all the live content, and they have as much in their ecosystem than anyone else in the world. The reality is Pixellot are that today. They have more live content coming through their systems than anyone else. And that really is down to the fact that technology has moved on. AI, and we'll come on to what AI is and what it means later in the presentation and how our technology works. But that's been one of the main reasons why Pixellot are enabled to produce more live content than anyone else. And I guess this is where the synergies lie between Pitchero and Pixellot, is that our vision is to democratize sports. And that sounds a bit grand in terms of what we're trying to deliver here. But we feel with our technology and with the kind of development of technology over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, that we can provide cost-effective live production and filming of content across multiple sports. And that's at a fraction of a cost that what you'd normally do if you were paying up your own tripod, camera, trying to film it with a volunteer or someone was paid to do that provision, is that we feel that we've created that full end-to-end production flow where you have the capacity to create content. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but this has just come from some of the back history around Pixellot. Some high-level numbers on screen for you to kind of just review it in your own time here. But I'm going to dwell on one or two that I think are really important in this conversation. We have over 18,000 fields and venues across the world that have Pixellot systems deployed within them. Now, that could be anything from some of the biggest basketball arenas in the world right through to a school in the middle of China, for example. So we very much cover and cater for different sectors. So the school sector, the amateur level sector, right through into the media sector, federation levels that are higher. So we have a vast mix of where we deploy our systems. And just in terms of live games produced today, and this always astounds me, if you think we were established back in 2014, over 1 million live games have now been produced via the systems. So we're not just a one-off business that just comes to market and says, we're good, we can do this, we can do that. Actually, we've got the kind of back history and knowledge of this space, and we can really do something in the market, as showcased on this screen here. And for those that come from clubs across different sports, just to kind of give you an overview there, that 16 sports are currently covered with Pixellot. Different camera heads that we'll come on to cover different sports, but that gives you an indication of if you are, for example, looking at football, or you're rugby focused, or you're hockey focused, then of course we have something to suit every sport. And just looking across the world, I'm not going to again go through every detail on the screen here, but again it just kind of showcases our presence across all time zones across the world in terms of clients. Again, just throwing that kind of angle of trust across some very big clients. So as you can see, ESPN I mentioned at the start over in the US, right through to some of the elite clubs that you're very familiar with in Spain, obviously Barca and Real, and then Bayern in Germany. But as mentioned previously, we focus very much on the lower end of every sport and every sector. And we have key relationships with a company called La Corte in Argentina, interactive television in Africa, again, all focused on the lower end of the market in terms of amateur level and school level. Just a little bit on our automated live production output. So this won't surprise you. This is a kind of, as you can see, a timeline of live games produced in one given day. So you can see when we first began this journey, like I mentioned at the start, we founded the business in 2014, but from 2017 onwards, we really accelerated the business. And so the live production, you can see this is live hours per game per day. There was an incremental kind of increase in terms of those numbers that we were producing every single day. It won't surprise you that obviously when the pandemic hit last year, so around the March time, that there was a significant drop off in terms of the number of live hours produced per day. But that, as we knew, a lot of people needed to have the ability to produce live content. And as you can see, that number has just gone significantly high since people realized they needed to have a piece of technology which enabled you to produce live content. And as you can see, that number just completely accelerated since the pandemic hit back in March last year. As Mark alluded to at the beginning as well, this technology isn't just being developed by our HQ in Israel. We're actually, we work and co-develop our technology with Barcelona. So we've spent a lot of time understanding the needs and requirements of an elite football team. But they have this innovation hub and center where they can test different innovation across their business. And so again, we've produced the content for various different reasons within the Barcelona group that can enable us to kind of test and evolve and amend what we're doing in terms of the production output. So a lot of around 20,000 games and training sessions have gone through our technology, and we've adapted it and evolved it and amended our roadmap accordingly based on the elite football perspective. So they're telling us in terms of feedback that this part of the algorithm isn't quite right, or it needs to do this, this, and this. We have that kind of partnership and that co-relationship with Barcelona, which enables us to kind of work together with them. And that actually benefits everyone, right? Because they obviously co-develop it with us, but all of our customers have the capacity and the ability to benefit from a collaboration with one of the biggest football clubs in the world. So the big key question, which I guess coming back to full circle from the start with Mark's introduction into some of the camera technology he was looking at when he first looked at kind of filming production, is that Pixellot have been developing in the background for the last 7 or 8 years, automatic production. So what does it actually mean? So in terms of the camera head itself, and you can see a quick image here on the screen or the bottom of your screen, and we'll come on to the camera head shortly and how it works. Effectively, what it does is we combine, using our smart technology, 2 to 3 or sometimes 4 camera lenses all into one. And what that image does and provides is that the one output will follow the ball left to right in terms of what you'd normally see on screen. So just a quick example here. So at the top, you've actually got the AI and machine learning follow the ball and imaging and recognizing the image of each player and team on the screen. And then on the bottom part of your screen, this is how it would work in terms of the operation. So exactly what you'd normally see with a traditional cameraman, it would follow the ball from left to right. But in this scenario, actually what's happening is that it's fully automated and using the AI and machine learning to understand where the ball is going from left to right. So very smart and intuitive piece of technology, which takes away that kind of need to have someone in the stadium. So putting it back into your kind of scenarios where you may traditionally have used a volunteer, you may have someone who may have some experience in camera technology and using a camera. But what we're doing here is enable you to use a piece of technology which removes that need, removes the need to have someone in that position and can focus in on doing other stuff during that match day. Yeah. You guys might have multiple teams, multiple things that you're doing on that one given day, and it can just remove that requirement to have someone. And frankly, as well, if the volunteer would like to enjoy the game that they're watching, then obviously it just, again, removes that need and can focus on different things. So just a little bit more about the integrated solution we have. So the actual camera heads themselves, and there's 3 examples that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, all of which come at different price points, all of which do different things in terms of the output, the quality of the output, what they can produce. Can they produce live content? Can they produce non-live content? And so we have different things for different budgets. Just the key parts that I want to address, if you look at your screen from left to right on here, is that we can do one of 2 things with the cameras. And Mark touched upon it at the start of the presentation. We can either do a fixed installation, and there is a lot of merits around having a fixed installation at your venue or at your stadium or at your pitch where you host your games. Is that a fixed install will enable you to automatically produce any game that happens on that venue by a click of a button or a touch of your mobile phone. Now, if you have multiple games on that pitch, then there's huge amount of value in you keeping that as a fixed installation because you get more value and more return from your investment. So that's the first thing. And we can do that with some of our more advanced cameras, or we can do them with some of our less advanced cameras that come with slightly less quality in terms of the output. If you want to move the camera around from venue to venue, then of course we can do that, and of course that is useful, especially again throwing to the example of your team and clubs. You may want to film your away matches, for example, so you may want to take them on the coach with you to your venue away from your kind of first team venue, and you may want to put that up on a tripod, and you can effectively do the same job in terms of pressing a button. It will launch that and film it live. So in terms of the output, it's an 8K image that is produced, so a video image. We actually output through the camera heads themselves one of two different images, and two different images or outputs that we have offer two very different things. So on the previous slide, you saw what we call our traditional media streaming feed, which is that kind of traditional left to right that you see. The other feed, which simultaneously outputs as well, is our tactical view. And the tactical view is really interesting and may be useful for some of you here listening today. So the tactical view will offer out an output which will showcase and will kind of, you can see every player on the field of play. So if you want to enhance and review team and player performance of your club, then having that footage output from the same camera is hugely important, because you can actually take those clips and take the footage to your coaching staff. If you have analysis of the team and club, you can actually review the content and actually improve performance by having the clips there to review. And that's quite a significant thing, because equally, if you're looking to, maybe certain levels you won't do this, but if you're looking to sell on players, or you're looking to scout certain players, you can share that content accordingly with different agents, with different people in your space. So the other thing as well is from the camera heads, just going to the automated production part, there's the four bottom bits you can see in terms of the bullet points. So we offer out automatic highlights. So again, saving you time in terms of what you might do in terms of highlight provision after a game. So if you are doing your traditional way of producing your content through a volunteer, there still will be in your concurrent workflows a need and requirement for someone to clip up those highlights off the back end of it. We actually remove that part from this workflow. So the automated highlights will be available after the game. Now, there will be a touch point for you to, within your Pixellot application, to tag accordingly that moment during a game. So say, for example, you're a coach or a volunteer on the side, whoever you might be, you can actually access the Pixellot app and you can just punch in quickly, this moment's happened, a goal, a free kick, a red card, whatever it might be, and that will be ended up in your kind of highlights bin at the end of the game. So again, a really intuitive piece of kit that you can kind of have and use. Broadcast graphics as well, really important component. It may not be relevant for all of you, but we do have a small provision there in terms of what you can see on screen here. So just lower third graphics that you might see on traditional broadcast. You've got like your top left-hand bar, which you see the score. We can do different sponsored-led content as well, which we're going to touch on a little bit further. So here's an example, and again, we're kind of probably going up a few levels here in terms of the output, in terms of what we can kind of produce. But this gives you an indication of the output that we have in terms of the quality. So again, this is the traditional media view that you'd see, the traditional sort of halfway from the line itself and halfway up the stage stand, and offers that kind of view of the pitch. And again, your kind of score bugs, your logos, all provided automatically via the stream itself. So just going on to the next section, which we were planned as part of this this webinar. The really important thing we've tried to address as a business is, yes, you can provide AI automated camera technology, but importantly, how do you actually monetize that content without any additional staff? And so what we've done in the last 2 to 3 to 4 years is actually consider how all clubs, federations, media owners can actually use our services to generate content and to generate advertising revenue or any type of monetization options associated to your way of doing things. So these are kind of some of the high level monetization options that Pixellot provide. So at the beginning, obviously, we touched upon what the camera technology does and what it outputs in terms of the content output. These, just starting from left to right, so we offer different elements of monetization as part of our product offering. So sponsorship, logos, and video, and within in Portal as well. So on the live stream itself, we can add in simple layers of advertising onto the live stream. So if you have associated advertisers that may be title sponsors, or you have club sponsors that may want to come onto the feeds, then we have that ability to add in accordingly. We also do in video Portal ads. So in the actual video itself, if you wanted to do pre-roll or post-roll advertising, then again, that's something that we can provide as part of the monetization options that we have. As mentioned on the previous slide as well, the coaching platform we have, with any clips that or video that's produced via Pixellot, it's stored in a central location. So if you wanted to clip up certain parts of, say, a striker you have, a midfielder or a goalkeeper, those clips could be clipped up and sent out accordingly to various areas, to wherever you're trying to sort of sell different players or look at different recruiting within your club. In addition as well, we do subscription-based monetization, and we'll come on to a little bit around that. Around Pixellot have their own OTT video player service that we provide, and so there is a capacity and the ability to add a paywall behind your content if you feel that's the right objective that you want to do as part of your business. Simultaneously as well, pay-per-view, as part of that same OTT model, we can offer that provision as well. The last one on the bottom probably won't be relevant to many people on this call, but we also do betting provision as well. So if there was an option for you guys, or you want to look at sort of betting related activities, then we can support that. And just a little bit around the kind of distribution angle to this. So this is just a quick sort of showcase of a school. I think it's probably an under 13, 14s game. And this just kind of showcases how you clip highlights on your mobile phone. So say you wanted to tag accordingly a piece of highlights. It might be a yellow card, a red card, or whatever that passage of play might be. You can do that remotely from your house if you wanted to at home. So you don't necessarily have to be at the venue itself. You could tag up accordingly whatever clip you want, and that would be ready for you at the end of any game. Additionally, as well, you can forward any stream of content from Pixellot directly to a social media channel. So if you wanted to forward directly to a chosen Facebook page, or if you wanted to focus in on doing something on YouTube, or any of the major kind of social media distribution channels, those could be forwarded accordingly to wherever you want. So just a little bit as well around YouTube, and I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but there's something which we wanted to discuss with you guys because I think it's important. So a lot of our customers want to do different commercialization models around their content. We know if you're the Premier League, if you're La Liga, or some of those big federations and leagues, they have a very defined model in terms of the way they carve up their content. We know as we go down through the different levels and verticals within sport and media that often the customers that we work with are actually very small and very similar size to you guys. And so there's various ways that you can carve up your content. As mentioned on the previous slide, you can obviously do a pay-per-view model. You can charge for certain premium content, perhaps for your first team. But then you may want to look at distributing content and stream content, perhaps behind a paywall. But you can see some of the subscription models on here where you can actually charge, and this is in dollars, but you can actually charge between $1 to $49, and you can offer out whatever you want in terms of that monetization layer. YouTube will probably take around a 30% share of that, but it's something which I think could be really, really interesting if you didn't want to do content behind a paywall and charge for that provision. You could do it on a platform such as YouTube, where you get more of your eyeballs on that piece of content. Just moving on to Pixellot's OTT provision as well. So as mentioned, Pixellot can provide a fully white label OTT video player. So if you think about the workflow from start to finish, Pixellot can provide, from the moment you want to capture capture content, we can provide the elements within it. So whether that be broadcast graphics, the ability to add in commentary, to the fully produced piece of content that you want to then stream. Then we can provide that distribution angle on here. So for example, we can have on within this platform the ability to add in your sponsored logos, your brand look and feel. Then you can distribute it out to your customer base. And that can be used in a variety of different ways. So you can watch live, you can watch on demand, you can add in advertising, subscription layers, or you can completely remove that and go directly to social media. So there is a huge amount of flexibility on the way that you might want to carve up and to distribute your content. And just a little bit around the kind of unique feature set that Pixellot has as part of its production set. So we touched upon it at the beginning. We have that kind of panoramic view that's as part of the tactical view that we have. But we also have the ability to do that in-game tagging that I mentioned earlier. And if you wanted to do personalized tagging as well. So for example, if you had a certain player in your team that you wanted to look at more and more, then we could tag up those you can tag up those personal highlights and kind of distribute them as you want to, wherever you want to put them. And just finally on the personalized clip library as well. So within our platform, we have the ability to carve up the content, and you can look at it in different ways, and you can segment it in different ways as well. So you can categorize it accordingly, and you can review it accordingly, and you can look to where you want to distribute it. So Pixellot's very much not just an automated AI live camera solution. It actually has the ability to do various different things. So yes, it can produce live, yes, it can produce VOD, but it can also offer out different distribution and monetization layers, which, as we know in this environment, when you get to kind of different levels, it's just so important to think about different ways that you can look at monetizing your kind of club and your venues. Just finally from me, I want to just go through a few case studies whereby Pixellot has helped out leagues and clubs bounce back from the pandemic. So you guys might not be familiar with this, but we work closely with some of the league clubs in Scotland and Ireland. I just want to quickly go through some high level numbers with you. So a lot of the SPFL clubs that we deal with, in fact, we deal with one only in the Championship, 7 in League One and 5 in League Two. And all of those clubs, bar the Championship one, are part-time clubs. So ones which are not going to be too far away from some of the people that are going to be on this call today. And so what we did with a lot of these clubs was do fixed installations with Pixellot systems. So we would enable them to produce live content directly from their venue and output to Pixellot's OTT, which all of the clubs branded in their own look and feel. So if you look on the individual clubs in League 1 and 2, a lot of them, they are actually outputting live content from a Pixellot camera, but also offering Pixellot's OTT as well on that kind of M piece on the distribution. So if you go onto Adrianians, for example, or onto Forfar, you can see on any given Saturday during the season, the Pixellot provide that kind of that layer for clubs in Scotland to do what they want with the content. So some will actually produce the content and have something around a season pass, so whereby clubs will charge a nominal fee to access the live content. Then it'll be potentially the VOD content given away for free. They may put some of that content directly on social media. They may do certain games in the cup which are on a pay-per-view basis. So they have the autonomy to choose how they want to monetize the content. Pixellot provide the tools, but it's up to them to decide, okay, do we want to charge this for one game? Do we want to do this with another game? And so it was really up to them to really think about their kind of commercial strategy, really. Some high-level numbers at the bottom of this screen as well in terms of overall reach. So we're looking around the almost 37,000 mark of unique users, all behind the paywall. And in terms of average views per game, again, some of these clubs, certainly in League One and League Two, get an average attendance of around 400 to 500, most of them. So the average views were relatively high in terms of what they were projecting before they started this project. And then the average viewing time around 42 minutes per game. So people were in tune and engaged in terms of the content. So we just found that, and we've been discussing with them in the post-season at the moment around what their kind of ambitions are for next season. Obviously, we know that we don't know what's going to happen with the government restrictions. And so we don't know whether fans are going to be back in stadium, but they still think that there'll be a requirement and need to produce the live content for overseas, for example, or it could be for other people that are just not comfortable going into the stadiums quite yet. And then just about our friends over in Ireland as well, again, talking about part-time levels by and large in terms of the provision we do over there. So again, the second division men's teams, all of that content for the first teams are behind a paywall. So they charge around €79 per season for fans to watch those games. And if you want to charge per game, they look at around the €5 model. But what happens in terms of that kind of distribution of the revenues is the clubs actually pick up the checks, if you like, from whatever's made from the OTT provision through the live streams. The first division in women's, they actually have done this for the first time. And what they do is just give that content completely free of charge to their registered users. So there's different ways that others will, or certain federations or leagues or clubs will look at the way that they want to carve out their content. And so we just a kind of final slide from me before sort of handing back to Mark for a few questions. And I think actually Neil wants to go through a little bit on Pixellot Air, one of our kind of entry-level solutions. But I think this is one slide I wanted to kind of close off on my section on, is just having a real think to all of you on this call here today. It's just around the importance of automated video. And I think with all the question marks still to exist with what's going to happen next with COVID-19 and what's going to happen with the restrictions, and hopefully we're coming out the back end of this, but there's obviously no guarantee as we kind of come right into autumn and winter later this year. So I think there's a couple of question marks for me, which I've kind of asked some of the kind of my customers in the kind of amateur level of sport. Is just, have you thought about sort of some of these key kind of metrics here, like fan safety, for example? Do you want more people attending your games? And is an automated solution, certainly in this area, one of which you perhaps should think about for the future? And have a think about, yes, there's obviously an upfront cost to Pixellot, but there could be an option to think about new revenue streams that perhaps have never been considered before in the past. And also just expanding your reach of content. I think by removing the need to have a volunteer all the time, you can actually have all of these assets that I presented here today without the need of someone being there in a venue or doing it a lot of their kind of manual resource and time. It is a simple click and touch of a mobile phone app. It's as simple as that. And again, there's some cost savings to be done. Yeah, we recognise that a lot of this is done at the moment by a lot of people on this call by volunteers, but there will be some economical saving, I think, because you take the need away of uploading, downloading, removing, and uploading content and moving away. It's all done automatically through our technology. So that's what I wanted to leave you on my section on. I'm just going to hand over to Neil just to cover off one of our new solutions, which we think is probably going to be relevant to a lot of you on this call. So we wanted to kind of touch on that. We know we're kind of going over slightly, but Neil, can you just take it over for the next 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ross. So just following on from Ross there, I mean, a lot of you on the call might well be thinking, okay, where do I actually fit in with this, just with regards to, the size of your organization, the size of your club, and what you've got, with regards to your budget restrictions. So this is a really exciting time for Pixellot with the launch of our Air camera. And this is all about bringing all of those learnings that Ross spoke about. We've been right at the top at the elite end, and the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, you don't sleep easy with guys like that are knocking on your door. So it's been great and invaluable to now process a lot of those learnings down into the Pixellot Air camera, which really does allow us to become totally scalable, all the way to the foot of the market, so to speak. So you can see there the Pixellot Air camera on the actual screen there, totally portable, robust, designed to operate in any environment. And the main thing about this is affordability. This is a piece of kit now that could well partner one of our other systems. If you've got one of our other show systems that Ross has been talking about that might be streaming live your first team on a Saturday afternoon, what about your under 16s? What about your 15s, 14s? What about your girls on a Tuesday night? Having the provision to be scalable with your video content is something that this really kind of, focuses on, and hopefully becomes a really integral part of a club's processes moving forwards. Have you got the next slide there, Ross? So as we touched on there, it's affordable. It's well within, we'd like to think, pretty much anyone's budget. A club fundraiser could well get this over the line. Totally portable, so it can be now used in any environment. And for those on the call that aren't just, football specific, we're looking to move it into as many sports as possible. Those 16 sports that we cover higher up the pyramid will very soon be coming onto the Air system. So, it shouldn't be restrictive to any sport, any environment that you guys are playing in. And also, when you look at the fact that some clubs, and probably a large majority of clubs, have more than one team, it's all about coverage at the end of the day. And it's about trying to get as many people value that are in the club rather than just the 11 best players. The Air also brings with it a host of different apps and access points for fans, players and coaches. So we've got the ability to connect with our iOS app, Pixellot U, an ideal place just to quickly pick up a goal, tag a friend, share something to grandma or granddad, all at the tip of your finger on your mobile app. Whilst also, on the other hand, and what we believe is a defining part of the delivery of the Air system, is it connecting to VidSwap, our player analysis system that allows you to go as in-depth as you possibly want, with all kinds of different breakdowns and even a breakdown service that we can offer teams. So just quickly here, this is the fan engagement platform on iOS. So this is our U app. And I think, is there a video there that you can play, Ross? So this is just showing how the game can be viewed in our web player, and then we'll automatically transition into the mobile app. As soon as that game's processed, everyone's got access. So you don't have to worry about having to, edit. And like Ross said earlier, just the whole process of having to go through the processes of editing, cutting out highlights, people knocking on your door, asking where things are. That's available within 4 hours of the game processing and can be tagged either by admin from the actual club, the coach, the players, and the parents. And then on the next slide, we should see the professional coaching platform VidSwap. So this really now lets you take the nuts and bolts off of the actual footage. So within this area, we can start to add reviews. We can have multi-layered tags. We can put strings together for player sequences. And all of this done on, again, you can do it on an iPad. It's on iOS and on the web. And it just allows you to go that extra yard in terms of breakdown. And one thing we've really been finding since the airs kind of hit the ground is the amount of stat-based knowledge that users can take out of it is starting to be really beneficial, just in terms of their feedback to players and just the way that young players are learning at the moment. To have this kind of video and stats associated to their performance is becoming really, really advantageous. So that's a really unique feature. And the actual video, once captured, actually seamlessly deposits itself into VidSwap, which is a really important part of it. There's no necessity to download the footage and then re-upload it, trying to figure out which format, so on and so forth. It's just instantly available in the VidSwap platform.
Great. So that was just to kind of conclude off our kind of section of this. I guess, Mark, if anyone on the call has got any questions for myself or Neil.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that. I want to raise a few quick points. One of the key reasons we partner with you guys is because you offer a variety of systems. This isn't one video camera for everyone. And on Pitchero, we have a wide spectrum of clubs. So first of all, you think about the top end, we have some Vanarama National League clubs and some semi-pro rugby clubs. Boston United is one of our clubs. They've just built a big new stadium that I think costs 10, 15 million, something like that. They should absolutely be putting one of your cameras up on their roofs that's fixed. And there's an absolute watertight business case to do that, because they can set up a paywall, they can get fan engagement, and they can do all their match day analysis through it as well. So you're solving multiple problems. And then as you come down the different levels of sport across Pitchero, even the very big clubs, and I'm thinking of someone like a Reading Hockey Club right now, who have 2 grass pitches, but most hockey is played on 1 3G pitch. And they have stacked games. So with hockey, you'll have hockey matches on the same field from 10 in the morning till 6 at night, sometimes on a Saturday, 10 in the morning on a Sunday till mid-afternoon, and then you'll have training. That camera can stay there. It could do 20, 30 matches in a weekend. And you start dividing these costs down, it starts becoming pounds per match over the course of a season, and multiple people can log in and do it. And then you think down to a lower level like that, my local rugby club, we paid several thousands of pounds to have a new electric scoreboard put in place. And that was to replace having a volunteer with the wooden tiles with the numbers on. And somebody would have to carry the tiles in a bag to the pitch and stand there. And finding someone who can do the maths isn't always easy. And then they have to put them up and pull them down. Now we have an electric scoreboard, and there's an Android app that lives behind the bar. Someone can pick it up any game. They can log in and they can work the electric scoreboard. That's cheap. That was more expensive than your air solution. And that air solution can work in exactly the same way for that club. It can be a club asset that all the teams can use. So I think anybody on this call watching this right now, there's a whole variety of solutions for your club. And if you're on that non-league level, or that level where you have a highly motivated fan base, there is a solution there for you to be able to monetize that through a paywall or through sponsorship. But then lower down, the cost price now is so low on these cameras that they're achievable for the vast majority of clubs. They're cheaper than kit for one team for a season. And they should be seen as an asset of the club. This isn't a nice to have. This is an absolute asset that will boost participation, boost fan engagement, and your players will love it. Seeing themselves on camera, it'll have a huge amount of motivation for them. Not to mention, you're getting into all the coach analysis, which we know through Pitchero GPS is so crucial and so important. So I think that's a really, really key point to put down there. On my side, I can't see any questions coming through, but I don't know if Sun can see any questions or if you can yourselves that have been added. But if not, we can pick up questions at another time and invite people back.
Yes, there is a question on general pricing and how is it done.
Yeah, shall I? We can probably perhaps share screen. Actually, I'll just go through them quickly without sharing screen. So, depending on what you're trying to achieve, really, in terms of your objectives with your team or club. So the one thing I always ask customers or projective customers is to think about what they're trying to achieve. Do they want to have something which outputs live content, or do they not need live content, but they just need to have a production and workflow of content that they can be filmed of that any given day? So the Air solution, which delivers the content 4 hours after the game, the hardware itself, so the physical camera head, starts at around the 999 mark, so just under £1,000, and then the monthly software cost that powers the algorithm that sits within the camera, and also stores all the content on the AWS cloud that we have, it starts again from around the £35 mark.
Yeah, now very reasonable.
Exactly. Now, if you're looking to do live content, the entry point for that, it does jump up slightly, but I still think when you consider the layers of monetization you can do around everything, starts at around the £2,600 mark, and then the monthly ongoing cost of that is around the £240 mark. Yeah. So the one thing I'd always ask is just what are your kind of objectives, really? Do you just need a kind of central depository and a system which can cover all of your matches, but it doesn't have to be live? Then the 999 mark is obviously the one for you. If you're looking to do live, then obviously the next step up is that kind of the one I just mentioned. So it's just really up to your individual club, team, wherever you're from. Just think about what you're trying to achieve, and obviously we can hopefully deliver that for you.
Yeah, I can see the questions now. They're coming through. I clicked the right board. So the first question there, I think you've answered. Does the Air do live streaming? At the moment, it doesn't. You'll need a higher package to do that. There is chat, I believe, of streaming coming to Air, but at the moment, you'll need a higher package for that. The next one is about the quality of the video clips. Now, I've seen this in action. It's smooth. It comes through beautifully, just as you'd expected. I think the presentation here, perhaps your broadband, our broadband, the joys of Zoom, they may have been a bit stop-start on the video production here, but I can assure you the video clips that are captured off these cameras are just as good as having the old, Canon or whatever it is that you would normally record on. So no problem there in quality. One thing that's interesting, you talked about the different sports that you cover. Just so everyone's certain, you absolutely do football, rugby union, hockey, is that right?
Yeah, so the live solution will output the 16 sports that I showcased at the start. So that does cover off football, rugby union, hockey, basketball, American football, so a whole host of sports that we can kind of show and go through with you. On the Air system currently, it is football to start with, but we do have rugby union, which is planned in the next quarter. So that will be available, rugby union. And from my understanding as well, looking at the product roadmap, there will be other sports added to that. So if your sport isn't on there currently, all I would say is just let us know what you need, and we will have, by probably early next year, a lot of those sports that are on our live system currently, I mentioned at the start. So there will be hockey to follow and others hopefully in due course.
Yeah.
Basketball is operational on Air.
Great. Next question here from Ashley. Assume Wi-Fi tech question for streaming. Assume Wi-Fi connection is required. Minimum requirement. What is the minimum requirement for the speed to be stable? So what Wi-Fi would a club need to be able to use the streaming service?
So we recommend roughly to 4 to 8 megabytes per second, I think it is. You'll probably understand I'm not too technical, but that's normally the kind of recommendation of speed that we require in terms of internet speed. I mean, to give you an understanding, we have a lot of these systems in place in very remote locations in Scotland and Ireland where internet bandwidth isn't great. You mentioned at the start around the different weather terrains that exist around the UK and Ireland. We have the systems in place in some really remote places in Scotland and Ireland. So again, I don't foresee the unpredictable part of the British winter to be an issue with any of the systems here.
Yeah. Okay, that's the last of the questions now. But if you're watching this and you've got a question, please do type it and I'll ask it. Just to summarize, so that everyone's clear, this is a camera that's the size of a large shoebox, and it's on a tripod, which it comes with. You put it normally near the halfway line, a couple of meters back from the halfway line, and it's 1.5 stories high or something, a story high by the time it's up there. Once it's up there, you're controlling it through your mobile phone, and then that's it. You can walk around. So lots of people, volunteers, parents that are involved, you don't want to be staring at a camera the whole time. You want to be watching your kids or your friends play. And like a lot of volunteers, you want to be able to walk around the pitch. If they're going one way, you want to be able to sit down one end. And if they're going the other way, you want to walk around, you want to do things. You can do this with this camera. You put it up on the top of the tripod, 1.5 stories high. It's safe, it's secure, and you let it go. And it does everything you need. And then as the game goes on, you can go onto the app. You can play with the various settings and do various things. So it really is, the easiest thing to operate. 3 more questions have come in. For live content, is there an option for a temporary installation for grounds that don't have a stadium? So I don't know if I answered that there, Chris, but tripods. So they provide a very sturdy, strong tripod. So you don't need a big, heavy duty stand to screw anything to. The Air, and Ross, you can help me here. Neil, that comes with a tripod, is that right?
Yeah, so the Air comes with a tripod that goes up roughly 4.5 meters. And actually for the show system, we do have the ability to provide a portable kit. So, the likes of, for instance, UK Beach Volleyball, who are traveling around the country, they would be able to take that show system and set it up in remote places using the portable kit. So to answer that question, if you don't have a stadium, yes, it is possible.
And is the tripod included in the price?
Of the Air? No, it's an additional £199.
Okay. So that answers Sean's question there. So the Air's around £1,000. Then how much was it extra for the tripod?
£199.
£199. But that is a very good, strong, stable tripod that's going to do you, everything you need in a Pennine full scale. Martin's asked a question here, and I think this is I think I know what the answer is. The same camera will do multiple sports, right? So let's say you're a mixed sports club, which is quite common in the UK. You might have it on a team that's doing football. You can use that same camera to also do hockey. Is that right?
Yeah. So what happens is we build the algorithm for each sport. So say, for example, you within our content management system say that you want to set up accordingly for football, or you want to set up accordingly for hockey, then it will need to be switched prior to that event happening. So the short answer is yes, but you need to tell the system which sport to obviously focus on and cover. Obviously, that's only available on our higher price point products that we mentioned earlier in terms of live, but they'll soon to come on the other systems as well. Sorry, on the Air system.
And what's the current cost for the live system per month?
So just seeing that's $240 per month is the monthly fee on that.
Yeah, that's great. And again, if you're doing 4 games a month, well, first team are doing 4 games a month, but you think of the other teams, and if you were to do a paywall or you have to put into your membership subscription, that's another option you could do as a club. It soon starts paying for itself. Also, to sell this to sponsors, I don't think that was, talked about enough, because clubs need assets. One of the big things that clubs want to do is they want to raise sponsorship. They want to sell their shirt sponsorship and around the venue. But one thing they lack is really good assets. The local insurance company and travel agents or financial firm accountants, they've bought the program magazine for years. They've had the perimeter board for years, and they may have had the shirt sponsorship. This could be a brand new asset which you could take out to be sold. something exciting for your sponsors to get hold of, a reason to bring in a new sponsor. You might have a local big media firm and they want something a bit more cutting edge. They want something a bit more so they could actually show an advert. This is the platform for them. So it provides you with not only a video recording solution, player analysis solution, motivational piece for the players, but you're also getting a new asset to sell to your sponsors and raise more money for it as well. Okay, that's covered all the questions that have come in. There's still quite a few people on the call, so if you've got any other lingering questions, please do shout them. Also reach out to us on Pitchero, the normal ways, support teams, account managers, pitchero.com/demo. You can get the calendar on there and one of our guys will give you a call back. They're all getting trained on this new technology. And like I say, this is a long-term partnership for Pitchero. We're getting it out there. We're getting cameras in the wild as soon as possible and clubs using them. And then as we progress, we're talking about how the two companies can share systems so that if you did record a video on an Air camera, for example, you can press a button on your app and that video magically appears on your Pitchero Club website. We're trying all the time to think, how can we help volunteers to be smarter, to do less work, and just to be able to, enjoy the sport more without having to do the admin and the management. So we're working really hard to try and do as much as we can together to make your life easier. But I think that was a great presentation. Guys, thanks for your time. Is there anything else, Neil or Ross, you'd like to add?
No, just thanks for hosting the webinar, Mark. It's really useful. And I think that the final thing for us to say really is just if you do have any specific questions for myself or Neil, then either direct them to the Pitchero guys or just send them across to us as well if you want to contact us on LinkedIn or emails. I'm sure Mark will forward them on to us. But really nice to hope it was useful to you all and look forward to the next one.
Good. We've got one question that's just come in from mine. One last question. Mine's asking, where do you place the cameras? So Martin, they go on the halfway line, a couple of meters back from the touch line. And they can be up in a stand, or you can buy a tripod to put them on as well. And because of the way they're designed, they have two cameras, you don't need to move them. The two cameras take each side of the pitch, so one points one way, one to the other page, and then the magical software these guys have knit the camera lenses together beautifully. You don't notice it at all, and that creates the final output picture. So it sits on the halfway line quite happily. And the proof's in the pudding. They've done over a million live video game camera games. So yeah, that's right, Martin. You can put it on the grandstand. You can screw that to the top, never need to touch it again, and turn it on with your iPhone, iPad, or whatever you use.
Just one final point for me, Mark, actually, which we kind of touched upon earlier with yourself in one of the questions. But when you've got a venue, so say it's a football ground, or it could be a hockey venue of some kind, speak to the venue owners themselves, because actually if you don't, as a team or a club, own that venue, the venue itself might be interested in purchasing the systems and the output and then sub-licensing those to the individual teams. So if there is, like you said, 20 different teams or clubs that pay at one venue across different sports, or maybe just one sport, the venue itself might be interested in purchasing this and then, as I say, sub-license it to you guys. And it may be a more cost-effective way of doing this type of thing.
Yeah. One more question from Darren. Does the height affect the footage, say a 7.3 meter tripod over a 4 meter tripod?
No, 7.3 would be as advantageous. Again, the height is going to be more advantageous.
Okay, so the more height, the better. Okay, great. I think as we'll get through this, guys, over the coming weeks, we'll focus on more and more areas. We're going to try and get a live case study. We're going to video some case studies. We're going to do some setups at real-world Pitchero clubs and show you exactly how it looks, where it goes. And like I said, get some of these cameras in the wild and then get first-hand feedback from some of the club officials, and we'll be sharing that with you as well. One last thing from me. Hopefully within the next week, 2 weeks, there will be an area within your Pitchero control panel, a bit like we've done with BookTech on the left-hand side, where you can click on it, Pixellot, and you'll have more information there, including videos, links to the actual website, links to talking to the sales guys and filling out forms where you can get more information. And all the club officials at your club can access that. and review it, and then you can discuss it at the next committee meeting. So we'll be in touch very soon with more information. But for now, jump on the Pixellot website, get stuck in, fill out the forms, and reach out to Neil and Ross. So thanks, guys. We'll call it a night there. Thanks for attending, everyone, and we wish you all the best.